In this video, we're going to do a couple problems where we take a problem like this, which is in slope-intercept form. We want to change it to look like standard form. All right, so when we do this, remember we have kind of three things. I call this my standard form checklist. We can't have fractions. The x and y have to be on the same side, as well as the x term has to be positive. All right, so let's start here with this first one, which says that we cannot have fractions. Currently, I have a fraction of negative 2/3. To get rid of that fraction, what you want to do is multiply the entire equation by the denominator of that fraction. In this case, it is a 3. So when I do that, I have to distribute this 3 into all the terms. There's 3 of them in this one. So 3 times y is going to be 3y. 3 times negative 2/3 x. The reason I chose the 3 is for the denominator here. If I multiply by 3 and divide by 3 like it's doing in the fraction, those will cancel. Just leave me with the top number, which is a negative 2, and we'll put an x with it. All right, and then lastly, 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so I can check off my first box. There are no fractions anymore. That's good. And then the second thing I want to get is that the x and y need to be on the same side. What I mean by that is here the y is on the left, but the x is on the right side of my equal sign. To move the x term over, since it's negative 2x, I'm going to add 2x here and here. And then usually they put the x term first. So since I can't combine those, I'm going to say 2x plus 3y equals 12. All right, so then I can check off the next part of my checklist. And the last thing I just need to double check is that the x term is positive, which in this case it is. If it isn't, I think we might do one of those in our next problem. So this is the standard form of this equation. Let's try one more. All right, I got another problem here and I have reset my checklist, so I have to start over. And since this one has fractions, that's where we're gonna start. We cannot have fractions. We're trying to make this into standard form. And remember, I multiply the entire thing by the denominator. In this case, they're both 4s. If they would be different, you would just need the common multiple of those. But here, since it's 4, I can just take 4 and distribute that 4 into all of my different terms. We're going to have 4y. And again, I chose the 4 so they would cancel, leave me with just the 3x. And then again, the 4's cancel on this one too. So again, a minus, and then the cancel, so I'm just left with the 1 on top. All right, the fractions are taken care of. The next thing I need is that the x and y have to be on the same side. So this is a positive 3x. I'm going to move it over by subtracting it on both sides of my equal sign. Here they cancel. Again, you usually write the x term first. And when I do that on this one, one thing to note is I'm going to make this a plus 4y because it currently was positive. All right. Since it was positive there, I can say plus 4y down below. All right. And then that takes care of the x and y on the same side. The last part, though, is that the x term has to be positive. Right now, mine is negative. To get this to be positive, I'm going to multiply the entire thing again, but this time just by a negative 1. If you think about what happens when you multiply by a negative 1, here a negative and a negative is going to cancel to give me a positive 3x. Negative 1 times 4y is going to be minus 4y. And a negative times a negative is a positive 1. So essentially what that did is it switched all my signs, which was left me with a positive x term. Right, so that's how you take slope-intercept and change it into standard form.